So if you just join us, hello and welcome. I'm Maria Bejar. On behalf of VCT Agile, I will be your host, and I would like to start addressing the why of this webinar. The truth is that we are experiencing a unique moment in our history, and there is another guidebook so how to handle all the situations. We are dealing with a lot: work, family, health, political changes. We are all busy with the heat of COVID, living in a constant change. And then it's coming up the holidays, and the end of the year is almost here. So that make us think, how can we do that mental reboot? How can we re-energize ourselves? So in this webinar, Tremilia is going to provide some practical tips about Agile and how to apply Agile at home. And then we can have the conversation together and let's learn from one to each other. So before to do that, if it's the first time that you join ECT Agile, let me introduce briefly our company. ECT Agile is a full Agile solutions firm located in RTP, North Carolina. We cultivate the T-shaped skills and we tailor our Agile solutions to fit the needs of our clients. ECT Agile was founded in 2016 for a successful self-started black female in the IT industry, Camille Sproul. Her vision was to create a company that provides tailored Agile solutions and foster an Agile mindset, vision that we embrace every day. Here you can see our team having some fun in action and our values. And one of the things that I love about our company is like we are more just like an Agile firm. I try to highlight one thing about our company in each webinar. And today, since Thanksgiving is coming up and there is a season that we like to reflect and to be grateful, I thought it would be very nice to highlight how grateful we are for our internal team. You know, we have like a small team that is growing, and we have like a lot of experience in the field, and we are thankful for the diverse team in many ways, for our commitment, for our professional development, but also the commitment that we have with our clients, and for the philanthropic arm that we support, and for the scaling Agile community that you are right now. We are very grateful for you and for having the opportunity to provide these webinars one a month. And of course, we are grateful for our partnerships. We are part of the Agile Alliance. We are Atlassian Silver Solution, and we are part of the Scale Agile partner as well. And for this session, we are partnered with 3 Million and Mailu Unlimited LLC. So this is the last slide before we really start. But as you can see in this slide, this is our services. We are all about Agile solutions and Atlassian services. But if you leave just one thing about ECT Agile, it's really not complicated. It's easy. Our letter mark set in our logo. For us, it's simplifying Agile, and we do that with the right tools that we believe are Atlassian tools, the right mindset, tailoring, and change management. So if you have any questions or concern about Agile or just looking for some recommendation on any Atlassian tool, we will be happy to help, no charge. I think Alex is going to put like a link if you want to just create like an appointment with us, so you can send us an email at info@ectagile.com. And with that said, before I going to pass the word to Tremilia, thank you so much again for being here. She's going to introduce herself, but I just want to add that she has more than 20 years of experience in the IT industry, and she's co-founder of the Mailu Unlimited LLC and more than over, she applies all the agile tips and in her own life and home, and she has helping like a lot of families and a lot of professionals just to put these practical tips in our daily life. So with that said, thank you, Trimilia. A welcome, warm welcome for you, and I'm going to stop sharing so you can present.
All right. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, ezTagile, for having me today. Let me get my screen share set up. All right. All right. Hopefully, let me move this. Sorry. Trying to move it over. It won't move. One second. All right. Can you all see?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for having me. Again, I'm Tramilia Williams from Milo Unlimited. And today I will be sharing with you why Agile is not just for software development. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and schedules to join me. It's been quite the year for all of us. And so I'm here to share with you the journey that I took my family on. And hopefully you all can take something from today and be able to apply it to your home settings as well. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. So as Maria mentioned, I am the co-founder of Milo Unlimited LLC. My husband is also a founder with me. Milo Unlimited, we provide Agile services kind of in the traditional sense, but then also the Agile at Home services that I'm sharing with you all today. I have a BS in Information Systems and Operations Management from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. I am a North Carolina native. I was born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. I mentioned I went to school in Greensboro, and I currently reside in Charlotte, North Carolina. I do have over 20 years of IT experience in various roles. So I started out as a developer, then I transitioned into a business intelligence leader. I've been a business analyst, systems analyst, project manager, program manager, scrum master, release train engineer, and now more recently, I'm in the role of an agile coach and IT consultant. Um, I have that 20 years of experience. It goes across different industries, and it's a mix of both employment and contract positions. Some of the companies that I've worked for in the past, I started my career with GE. And then transitioned into Genworth Financial. So I lived in Richmond, Virginia for a couple of years. And then after I got married, I moved to Maryland and I worked for a staffing company for about 12 years called Allegis Group. Then my husband and I, we moved to Charlotte about 4 years ago. And since I've been here, I've been contracting those 4 years. And that experience has been with Bank of America, Avid Exchange, and most recently with Duke Energy. You can see that I have several certifications there. Like I said, my husband is the co-founder of Mylu, been married for 16 years. Doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it has been, and I'm grateful for that. And I am a mother of three children. Two boys and a girl. My oldest is 12 years old. He's in the sixth grade. My daughter is the 9-year-old. She is in fourth. And then our youngest is 7, and he is in second grade. I also try to be involved with the school when I can. So I'm a part of the school leadership team. And then I love HGTV, home decorating, home design. So, I've been having a lot of time at home, right? So I think just about every room in my house has had some type of makeover. My husband is tired of me. But also like UNC basketball, go Heels, and I like to travel. who I am not. And this is something that I feel like I've had to clearly kind of put in here because, we are all looking for solutions and for help. And so, I want to make it clear, I'm not a school teacher. I don't have any licensing in counseling or therapy, although sometimes I do feel like I am a counselor. And then lastly, I am not a magician. I showed my kids this slide and they were like, Mommy, why'd you put that in there? And I was like, people are looking for help and solutions, right? I wish I could snap my fingers, click my heels, and kind of make things better, right? But I don't have that type of control. But what I do have control over is how I implement the tools and the talents that I have to be able to help my family and help others. So the motto at Mylu is embrace, adapt, be agile. And in today's case, we want to be agile at home. All right, so this is what we're going to do today. We're going to take a quick little survey. I call it the Agile at Home survey. I'm assuming that most of you have, Agile experiences, Agile background, but I don't want to assume that that is the case for all of us. I know this webinar was posted in multiple forums and networks, and some people may have just seen the title and said, it says at home, I wonder what that's about. I'll join in and I'll listen. So I want to kind of get a lay of the land and see who we have on the call today. And after we do that, then I'll walk us through just kind of that comparison, looking at the definitions between, Agile and my definition for Agile at home. And then we'll discuss some non-traditional uses of Agile. And then I'll wrap up with sharing 3 ways or kind of tips that you can make your homes more agile. I definitely want to be able to, hear from you all as we go through this webinar journey today. So if you have any experiences that you would like to share about how you've implemented Agile at your home, let's definitely find places throughout today's presentation for you to share, because it could help somebody else.
Wonderful.
Yes, thank you. So you should have received a question here in the poll. We do have 4 questions. Again, I want to see, are you a Scrum Master, Agile coach? Do you have a role in an Agile team? Have you had any trainings? Let's see what we have here, or who we have here. Awesome. All right, we're almost there. Looks like 4 people haven't voted, but that's okay. It looks like the majority of us do have Agile experience. That is great. For the 7 of you that don't feel left out, I have broken this down into language and terminology that all of us will be able to understand and relate to. So that is great. At any time, if you have any questions about any of the terminology that's used, please feel free to raise your hand or ask a question. We can go to the next question in the poll, please.
Okay. There you go.
All right. So on a scale of 1 to 3, have you ever thought about how Agile can be used outside of work? So we have 3 options here. 1, never, nope. Work is work, home is home. I don't even want to think about Agile, in my personal life. 2 is occasionally, and that 3rd one, yes, I live and breathe Agile. Let's see how you all respond to this one. Awesome. All right, I think the majority of folks have responded to this one. If we want to share the results. All right, so the biggest count here is occasionally, and then some folks have said yes, and I live and breathe Agile. All right, that is great to know. Let's move on to the next one, please.
Okay. There you go.
Okay, so outside of work, I typically use the following to keep myself and my family organized. I have some type of checklist, a honey-do list. use Kanban boards or some type of app or software or other. All right, I think the majority answered here. If we want to share the results. So written checklist, honey-do list comes up at the top, followed by using some type of app or software, and then Kanban board. Awesome. All right, and then we have one more question. All right, which of the 4 Agile values have you valued the most this year? So I know a few of you may not be familiar with the values, but just take a look here. Have you valued the individuals and the interactions the most? Working software, and I put that in quotes because you can replace that with solutions or ways of working. Customer collaboration, customer in the sense of, your loved ones or whoever you may interact with on a day-to-day basis, and then responding to change. All right. Go ahead and publish these. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, it looked like someone else. But all right, so responding to change has the lead on this one, followed by individuals and interactions, working software, and customer collaboration. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating in that survey. That definitely helps to give me a little context as we go about the session today. There is, let me close this. There is one more question that I typically like to put in that survey, but I didn't do it today just because I know we have limited time. So instead of putting that question in the survey, I want to just pose a question, and maybe a few of you will want to come off mute or share in the chat. We know those of us that are in the Agile community, we know that there are 12 principles. And I just want to ask, do you see what I see when I look at this visual? So looking at this without much explanation, do you see a correlation of these principles to kind of at home or personal life? Like, which ones stand out to you the most? So I'll give you a minute just to take a look, and then if a few of you maybe want to weigh in here, what stands out, and let me know if you've used any of these things or can see the perceived value of being able to use it at home. John?
I would say that the one that stands out is working software, because I've been in a journey. One of the things that is an obstacle, I think, is for wide agile adoption outside of technology is the idea that it's working software. It could be a working solution. Any kind of minimum viable product, minimum business increment is what Discipline Agile calls it. And Discipline Agile was recently acquired by PMI. And so that's one of the things that you'll see in, the Agile Manifesto is now 20 years old. So it may be about time that we amend the 4 values and 12 principles somewhat. Discipline Agile has 5 values and 17 principles, and the extra add-ons are associated with this idea that not everything is software.
Right. Right, I totally agree, and that's what makes it easily transferable, right, to other, industries, home life. It does definitely broaden the use. Thank you for sharing, John. Would anybody else like to share here?
There is also several responses on the chat, Remilia.
Okay. Let me see. Trying to open the chat window here so that I can see.
While you're looking at the chat window, I looked at these 12 within the context of being at home. And obviously, face-to-face communication is enhanced or increased because we are confined and we have to interact with each other more, which requires us to work harder at working together. I think, just like it's a Scrum does not solve your problems, Scrum reveals your problems. So I think being confined at home has revealed some challenges that we have with communication, organization, and how we reflect on those and adjust to those from one another. So I think, as John mentioned, you could take these 12 principles and to some degree, you can apply them to the everyday life, the everyday interactions you have with your spouse, your children, and how things operate within your home. The honey-do list. How do I prioritize my honey-do list? And how do we agree on what bubbles to the top? And how do I get my wife to understand that, I have a whip limit, I can't do all of these at once, so all of these apply, when I look at these 12.
Right. And Albert, that's definitely the aha moment that I had this year as I started kind of putting together this material for Agile at Home. I think many of us are probably more agile than we think at home already, but we don't really kind of pause and take the time to really see how everything ticks and ties. And then I am looking in the chat. Derica mentions face-to-face talks with kids are more effective than when eye contact isn't made. Working together since we are not co-located. Shasta, reflect and adjust with child doing online schooling. And B says working together, ensuring everyone's opinion is taken into consideration. So great. Thanks everybody for weighing in there. All right. So what is Agile? What is Agile at Home? For those of you that are experienced Agilists, this is kind of no-brainer for you. It's kind of Agile foundations. But for those of you that I think there were about 7 people that said you didn't have much experience with Agile. I'll just kind of give a brief definition, and then I'll also explain what Agile at Home is. So we know that there's a lot of Agile material out there, right? Looking at the bullets here, Agile is a mindset shift. So for those of you that may have a number of years of IT experience, like I have, I started out in the waterfall world, in that traditional sense. And so it definitely was a shift for me when I transitioned into the Agile way of working. A lot of you may have heard before people say, well, you can't just do Agile, you have to be Agile. So in that survey, I put, live and breathe Agile. We know that it's a journey and that it doesn't happen overnight, but ultimately, in order to be able to really change and see the true benefits of that change, it requires adjustments within your ways of thinking. Agile allows teams to be able to prioritize work and focus on things that are of highest value. So Albert mentioned, your wife gives you things to do and you can't do all of them at the same time, right? So you have to figure out, which has the most importance and do that first. I've also had to do that, right? You have to choose, do I cook dinner now or do I do the laundry? And it's kind of like, okay, well, my stomach is growling and I have 3 kids that are, nagging me that they're hungry. I guess I'll cook dinner now and then I'll do the laundry afterwards. Agile is an iterative way of thinking, kind of going back to that laundry example. We can't do all 50 loads of laundry at one time. We have to, do it one by one, unless we're gonna, go to the laundromat. But, maybe you're gonna do the towels and the linens first, and then you're gonna move on to, doing the whites and then the reds and the, the pinks. But, just do one by one until you get it, all done. Agile is a framework that fosters teamwork, collaboration, and self-organization. And I will say that this one probably, this particular bullet is the one that really stood out for me when I was trying to figure out a plan and a solution for my own family, knowing that, due to the pandemic, my husband and I were both going to be working from home, and we chose to keep our kids at home. So they're in virtual school. So how were we going to foster an environment in our home that allowed our kids to be self-organized? It's going to, give them accountability and also allow them an opportunity to collaborate and get help with either myself or my husband or their siblings throughout the day. And then this last one, Agile is a way to balance capacity and work in process limits. And so we have touched on that a little bit already. We can't move everything to in process and expect, everything to get done, right? At times we have to figure out, who can do what and figure out ways that we can pair and partner together and get some things done, and then bring other things in from our backlog. Agile at home. This is how I've defined it. Agile at home is the application of Agile principles and values at home. It's being accountable for oneself at home, and it's the ability to adapt and accept changing needs at home. Okay, so I mean, this is not, I guess kind of rocket science. It's just more of, hey, let's take the tools that we have and know within the Agile community and use it as an opportunity to apply it at home and to teach others who may not be as familiar with Agile, showing them the benefits of how it can be applied and how it can produce, more accountability within your households. When the pandemic hit, we all had to adapt quickly, right? We had to accept that things would no longer be kind of what we considered to be the norm. So once, life kind of smacks you in the face, what are you going to do with it to learn and grow? All right, question for you here. So again, we started 2020. I'm sure, some of you probably do vision boards or, New Year's resolutions. And we started off the year strong. We had our plan A, everything was rocking and rolling. And then COVID hit and we had to pivot. We went to plan B. Some of you may be on plan O, P, Q, who knows what plans we're on now, right? We've had to pivot so many times. But I asked the question, why should you practice Agile at home? And so according to the Agile Alliance, states Agile is the ability to create and respond to change. It is a way of dealing with and ultimately succeeding in an uncertain and turbulent environment. And so when I read this, I was like, wow, this is definitely describing our current state. It's a lot of uncertainty, but again, let's focus on the things that are within our control and try to come up with the best way of dealing with it. So instead of asking, why should you practice Agile at home? I'm going to ask, why shouldn't you? I mean, what do you have to lose by not trying to implement some of these tools and best practices into your daily living? All right, so moving on into some examples of non-traditional ways to apply Agile ways of working. When we took that survey, some of you said that, you have used, various tools, whether it's a, honey-do list or, some type of app to plan different things. I'm sure you probably use some of those tools to plan, certain events, whether it's a birthday party, so a baby shower. For event planning, actually, I planned my entire wedding using Excel spreadsheet. And so at that time, I wasn't familiar with, Jira and Rally and all that. I did have familiarity with MS Project, but, I had tabs, which would also almost be kind of like my features for all of the things that I needed to get done. I had different formulas that would tell me if I was, tracking on time or if I was past due and things of that nature. Vacation planning, I tend to not go as crazy, but I do have some type of checklist or maybe use some stickies, right, of things that I need to pack, restaurants that I may want to check out, places I may want to go. The household chores one, that's probably something that many of you probably have used at some point, especially if you have kids. That Kanban board where it is kind of that, here are all the things that I need to do to get, the house clean, right? You need to vacuum, you need to dust, do the dishes, dust the blinds or whatever, right? And then, for the kids, you may assign who's going to do what. And then, they can have that visual easily available and ready for them to be able to move things across the board, right? Until it gets into that done piece. And then virtual learning and remote working. This is where we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive, and I can share with you kind of what I'm calling the case study that I put my family through in adapting agile ways of working. Have any of you, before I move on to the next slide, have any of you used any, I guess, kind of agile tools or techniques for any of the things here, any of these common categories? I see some head nods. All right, awesome. All right. So, case study. So again, I mentioned my husband and I were both working remotely. The kids are at home. The end of the 2019-2020 school year was interesting. It was a little chaotic. We made it work. I've never been so happy to see the summer in my life. The summer came, but then I quickly realized that the summer that we typically have was not going to exist. The summer camp that my kids typically go to, that was canceled. Our vacation plans really kind of came to a halt. So kind of fast forward, we survived summer. There were a lot of virtual camps and opportunities that we took advantage of. And then we were forced to quickly come up with a decision about schooling for the fall. Like I mentioned, we decided to go with the remote learning, and we needed a plan. We needed an Agile at Home plan ASAP. So the picture that you see here, these are my kids. This was the weekend before school started. And we basically did a planning session. Okay, so we had their school schedules. We came up with really kind of a family agreement, kind of what our rules were going to be for, the school day. You see, they are the ones writing. I had them write on the stickies. They put together their boards. Let's investigate this a little further. So I'm going to share with you 3 ways to make your home more agile based on what our experience has been this year. We have 3 stickies here in to do. I'm going to say that our work in process limit is 3, and I know we have 3 items here, but just go with the flow. I'm going to start with implement time boxes, move into building buy-in, and then talk about enhancing communication. So the first one, removing time boxes to in progress. Implementing time boxes, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the term time boxes, it really is just a term that is used to help kind of set guardrails and set boundaries around how much time we spend on things. Some of the time boxes that you probably have used maybe include a bedtime, a nighttime routine, what time you get up in the morning, maybe if you set out time to go to the gym, taking that 1 hour lunch break, spending your time, with myself and Easy to Agile today, right? All of those are things that we kind of schedule and make time for. Typically during the school year, a normal school year, my kids would be in the bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest, depending on what we had going on. Good thing is, I have a little bit of flexibility now that we're all from home and working from home. So we sat down and talked about what time boxes made sense for us. You know, I have given them maybe, you know, an additional 30 minutes to stay up at night. Typically, we don't do a lot of technology during the week because honestly, we didn't have time to before. So it wasn't like, you know, no TV, kind of no video games. My kids don't have cell phones yet, so, you know, I don't have to really worry about that. But, you know, we started to establish what those rules were around how much time you could use, you know, certain technologies or doing certain activities. Implementing time boxes also helps us to identify our availability. So as I mentioned, and as I showed, my kids were working on their schedules there. We took, actually, I'll show you. This is a schedule that I put together for my kids, 1, 2, 3. So at any given time, and I had that in my office, my husband has one and we have one on the refrigerator, okay? So I know who's available and when, and if something changes in their schedule, the kid's schedule, you know, I update the schedule so that I have that awareness. And then my husband and I also try to let the kids know when we're available. So we've established office hours where, you know, I'll say, you know, I'm going to be pretty busy on, you know, different calls and meetings during this time, but I have blocked, right, or I have boxed time out between, I'll just make up something, you know, between 10 and 11 a.m. to be able to help you with any needs that you may have. And then my husband does the same in the afternoon. Building time boxes also helps to just build awareness and set boundaries. So again, if, you know, if something happens and that awareness is not made known, then, you know, we have to talk about respecting, right, the time box and respecting our boundaries with one another. Next one, building buy-in. So this is one that I'm sure we've all had some type of experience with this in kind of a work setting, right? You go into some type of meeting and, you know, you get asked, you know, well, what do you think about X, right? How would you feel if you weren't asked, you know, about how you felt about something? Oftentimes, as parents, and I'll speak, I know some of you may not have kids, but as a parent, you know, we say it's kind of my way or the highway. But this was an opportunity for us to increase accountability within our household and to gain trust through inclusion. So we took the time at the beginning of the school year to come up with a family agreement, come up with a family contract that everyone participated in. So, you know, my youngest son can't say, well, I didn't know the rules. You knew the rules because you helped to create the rules and you helped to document the rules, right? So we, us Agilists know that anytime we're forming kind of a new team, we want to take the time to build out what that team agreement looks like. You know, what are the rules going to be? What frequency are we going to meet? What time of those meetings going to be? So we actually did that. And we are actually, I'll transition to the next one and I'll dive into kind of the communication, because this also ties into some of the meetings that we've incorporated within our household. So in Agile, and especially, you know, Scrum, there are different ceremonies, right? You have your daily stand up, there's planning, demo, review, all of that. Of course, in a home setting, you have to apply what makes sense. You know, I didn't want to go too crazy and too overboard, but I did feel like it would be important for us to at least have a daily stand up. And so we have incorporated that into our morning routine. That meeting occurs at 8:15 every morning at breakfast. We rotate the facilitator and we ask some basic questions. Questions around, you know, are you ready for the day? Is your technology charged up for school? Is there anything that you need help with? And then we also take the time to talk about wins, right? So yeah, I know you had a test, you know, yesterday. How did that go? Or, I know you were really worried about, that assignment that you had to, turn in, that science project, how did that go? So that morning meeting has become an integral part of our day-to-day lives. And I will say that my youngest is destined to be a Scrum Master. He is awesome. He caught me off guard one day in the meeting. I guess I was rambling a little bit too much and giving too much detail. And he told me, he was like, "Mommy, you're gonna have to take that offline. We need to move on to the next person." And, at first I was a little offended, but then I also was kind of like, oh my gosh, wow. Like he learned how to do this. Like I didn't even give him any kind of direction on that at all. But I definitely got a warm and fuzzy feeling when he did that. So it's been an awesome experience for us. But as far as communication, understand or figure out what makes best for you or for your family, and figure out what type is needed, how frequently you need to meet, and what time. So I mentioned the daily meeting, but some families may choose to have a family meeting. Growing up, I watched The Cosby Show, and occasionally on The Cosby Show, they pulled the whole family together and talked about various things that were going on within the household. When I mentioned family meetings in another webinar that I was doing, the person said, "Wow, I never really thought about doing a family meeting just because." Like we had family meetings growing up, but it was because someone was in trouble, like something bad happened. What if we actually, took the time to do a family meeting to, not only talk about, maybe what went wrong or what challenges we had, but also took the time to, again, talk about, what's going really well within our own household, or what goals and visions we have for our family. I have some neighbors that live down the street, and they have a family goal to visit all 50 states before their oldest graduates from high school. And I was like, wow, that is a really awesome goal to have. And then I started thinking about my own family, and I was like, well, what goals do we have? A lot of times we set goals for ourselves, which is great. But then it just, kind of struck me as, I have opportunities within my own household to be able to improve upon things that we want to accomplish together. All right. So I quickly kind of went through those 3 items: implementing time boxes, building buy-in, and enhancing communication. And now I want to give you all an opportunity to share maybe some ways that you all have maybe already done some of these things within your own household. And then as you think about those things, we are getting close to the end of 2020. 2021 will be here before we know it. Think about what actions you're going to take to be more agile at home. Okay. So just start thinking about that. And I'd like to, again, just kind of open it up and see if anybody would like to share or give any thoughts on the information that's been presented. And I'm looking at the chat as well. So I see that some families have used a Kanban board for virtual learning.
Patrick, we cannot hear you.
You cannot hear me?
No, Patrick, I think he's trying to.
Oh.
Jamila, I have a question.
Yes.
Salman. So, for example, I was trying to think, how do we apply Agile principles to our planning? And you mentioned one thing which caught my interest is the, like if you're going on a vacation planning. So before Agile time, we always think of like, okay, what do we pack, or how do we plan our meals? What is it that we want to shop? What's our budget for that? And what are the activities, cost and time? So we used to do this thing prior to Agile. So how do I apply Agile principle here, given what we used to do? And what is the value that I see?
Yeah, I mean, I think the value may range, based on your household. Like, for example, for vacation planning for myself, my husband can really care less how much advanced planning we do, right? He just knows we're leaving on a certain day. He has to pack some clothes. We're going to get there. We're going to have a great time, right? So it depends for vacation planning. It depends on, how stringent you and you are when it comes to those types of things. For me personally, I don't want to get somewhere and not already kind of know what my options are. Right? Like I want to be able to maximize my time while I'm there. So I want to do some advanced planning and research. But those are just kind of my thoughts. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add there from a vacation planning perspective or things that you've done in the past?
So basically, what I was trying to get at is that, so what is Agile adding value to what we already used to do? I mean, we used to do like, packing, planning, restaurant, shopping, activities, and all that. We used to plan this thing in advance. So if I say, you know what, now I'm going to apply Agile planning to this, so what will change?
Well, I guess how much visibility did that planning have in the old way that you did it? Was it done kind of in a silo, or were you able to bring visibility to all who were impacted? And how inclusive was that planning? Was that something that, again, just a single person did, or was it a collaborative effort?
Right, and I think one thing which I took away from this is that create a response to change. So obviously, if something doesn't go well the way it should have gone well, then you need to have a backup plan, things like these. So obviously it's never that detailed. So that I take that, and also one thing you mentioned is the collaboration. Make sure that everybody buys into the plan.
Right, right. Because
I would also ask the question here is like, what did you see as the benefit in creating a plan to begin with? The value of creating that plan doesn't change. Application of Agile enhances the value that you derive from creation of that plan. It helps the transparency and visibility may help you get more buy-in or more people to, participate in generation of that plan.
Yeah, I agree with that, Albert. Because what I thought about is, especially if it's a family vacation, my husband and I could say, we want to do all these things, go to all these museums. And the kids say, we don't want to do any of that, right? We want to go to the amusement park. We want to go to the pool, right? So again, trying to figure out what that balance is, so that, everyone's happy and feels like they are getting some type of value out of the vacation there. Thank you for adding some context there, Albert.
And there is also in the chat the use of retrospectives and continuous improvement that also we can summarize of everything that have been said.
Yes. And we do have retrospectives within our household. I don't necessarily call it that. But as part of our family meeting, we do talk about, like I said, kind of, what our wins are, what changes we would like to make. And I've also just kind of come up with some, how we play retro games in the office, right? So I've come up with some creative ways on how different family members can share, especially if you have, either younger children or have a family member who may be having some difficulty expressing, how they feel about a particular item. For children, maybe they could draw a picture and explain how they feel, right? And then have them kind of explain to you what that picture represents, and use that as a starting point to kind of open up the gates of communication. So yes, retrospectives are critical in ensuring that we're, continuously improving and enhancing our family lives. So B, thank you for putting that in the chat. Oh, Patrick, hopefully you don't call them postmortems. No. Awesome. Anybody else would like to share how they have adapted since you've been home due to the pandemic? And I don't want to make an assumption. I know a lot of people are working from home, but there may be some people who are having to go into the office. So I can't even imagine, especially with those of you who may have, younger kids, what that could be like, right? Having to kind of juggle being in the office, being at home, and, managing all those different schedules. So, feel free to share. And then even for those of you who don't have to deal with all of the changing things around kids and school, there's definitely, things that, all of us, even just on an individual level, can use and leverage, these agile tools and techniques to do. I have a cousin who is single and no children, and I started sharing with her some of these ideas around Agile at Home, and she was like, I love this. She was like, I have some things that I could apply just to my daily living. And she did some event planning on the side. And she's like, I would love to be able to learn more about Agile and how I could, better manage my small business. So anybody else want to share?
Tremelia, this is Shasta. I would like to share, with my son doing virtual online schooling, we do the reflect and adjust. And especially like if he gets a grade on a quiz or something that he thought maybe he could have did better, and we, kind of revisit. So why don't you think you did as good as you thought? Well, I didn't take as much notes, or I didn't take any notes. I thought I could remember. Okay, well, next time, take more notes. Make sure you have those notes handy during your test, and then we'll revisit okay, how did that next test go? Did it go better? I'm like, yeah, that was easy because it was right there, it was available. It's like, okay, well, I think we should continue taking notes.
Right. Right. So kind of that, retrospective, right? Start, stop, continue. What is it that you need to start doing? Start taking better notes. You need to stop, maybe not taking as many, detailed notes. And then, once you were able to kind of test and validate that the taking notes piece helped, right? You encourage him to continue. So thank you for sharing that.
And I think we are almost on time. So just taking maybe the last question, if somebody else wants to add something. You can see Tremire information in your screen. Feel free to email her. And I will send also an email just to recap with this webinar recording. So thank you so much to everyone for being here. It's really like an amazing time just to be aware, like a new reality. We are more aware with our family, with our kids, in our works. So let's take advantage of all this knowledge. And thank you, Tremila, for being here. And see you next time, guys. Thank you for coming to this webinar. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you so much, Tremilia. It was a great session. I love it. We have 35, 36 people at one point that I saw in the middle. So it was like a full room, a lot of interaction. I think people were very engaged. What were your thoughts? How do you feel?
I thought it went well. When I was trying to share.
Let me stop the recording, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let me stop.